Good morning, folks. Right, so last lesson of this week, and possibly, depending how this lesson goes, our last lesson on Richard III. So that's quite exciting. Uh, you've done really well to get this far. It's I've never taught like this before, just using videos, and for you guys, it's very weird being taught just using videos, but you've done really, really well to get this far, and hopefully this last lesson, this last task, will be the icing on the cake, as it were. Okay, so the plan is you're going to do an actual kind of GCSE style question today, and then you're going to turn that in, hand that in by Monday, and we'll start something different next week. I'll have a look at your answers, and obviously we might have one lesson where we go over the Richard III answers to make them better. So lesson 3, writing about an extract. The aim today is to create a mini essay that follows a structure using GCSE answers. So it's basically like a step up towards GCSE English literature. As you can see, there are going to be 3 success criteria today, and they're quite obvious. You have to have written at least 2 paragraphs. Now, the lesson's going to give you the option to write 4 paragraphs. Okay. What I'd like to do is to think about, don't just do the first 2. Try and look at all 4 of them, and then either decide I'll do those 2 or I'll do those 3, or if you're feeling up for it and you've got the time, to go for all 4. Each paragraph needs to be relevant to the question. Okay, now I don't think anyone's going to fail there because the way I've set it up is pretty guided. I'm going to pretty much point you in the right direction. So if you miss the second success criteria, then something has gone wrong, I'm afraid. But we'll look at that as you do the work. And finally, possibly the most important one of these criteria is that the paragraphs that you write today follow the suggested structure. And it goes without saying that if you can follow this structure, and you can do this structure well, and you can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and you can almost get to the point you can do it without thinking, and your essays will be of a very good quality. Okay, so the third bullet point is absolutely vital. So a little bit first about the GCSE questions and GCSE answers. One of your English literature GCSE exams will have a Macbeth section. Okay, and the play about a man who decides he wants to be king, and, assisted by his closest ally, kills the old king and becomes the new king. Then everything goes wrong, and in the end he dies in battle against his most hated enemy. And when I wrote that, I deliberately wrote that summary of Macbeth so that it basically sounds a lot like Richard III. And then one of the reasons the reason why I teach Richard III in Year 9 is because it's got so many links and similarities to Macbeth. So when you hit Macbeth in Year 10, you've already got a sense of the tragic story, the kind of the evil king who kills his way to become powerful. The 2 stories have huge overlaps. So that's why I go for Richard III in Year 9, to give you a little bit of an insight when you get to Macbeth in Year 10. Now, the actual questions that you get in Year 10 and Year 11 on Shakespeare plays, there's 2 of them. And today we are looking at the first question, which is writing about an extract from the play. And those questions, where you get like a short section from the text, always focus on a specific character or characters in that particular extract. Now, that means that when you answer the questions today, you should only focus on the Queen Elizabeth scene that we've been working on this week. Okay, I know you know about Richard. I know you know about the kind of the rest of Queen Elizabeth's story. You know about Richmond. You know about the princes and all that other stuff. But for this task, you have to just focus purely on the extract that I've given you, which is the extract we've been working on this week. So, writing about an extract. That's our topic. That's what we've been working on or working towards this week. And here's the question: how does Shakespeare present Queen Elizabeth in this extract? Now that question is wide open. Okay, there's no focus in that question other than the character. It's not saying, how does Shakespeare present Queen Elizabeth as weak or strong or powerful or anxious, but that's really what the question's asking. So when you answer this question, you're going to be writing about how she feels nervous, how she feels anxious, how she's scared, but at the same time how she demonstrates power, or how power is kind of shown in the scene, because she's still high status, even though she's in a very difficult situation. So that's the kind of the area, but the question doesn't give you a specific range of details to look at. It just says the character name, and it's up to us to work out what are the aspects, what are the things that Queen Elizabeth is doing or being shown to be like in this scene. And that's why you had this task at the beginning of the week. This task is all about you working out how she's presented. So if you've got this piece of paper or this document with you, it'll be very, very useful because you've done a lot of the preparation work for today by working on this on Tuesday, Wednesday. You work on this on Wednesday, and then improving it on Thursday. Okay. So what do you know already? Well, based on what we've already done this week, you already know the 4 topics which are going to be the foundation of this answer. So you know these 4 topics. These 4 topics are the way she acts, what she says, how others act towards her, and what others say to her. So the 4 topics. And remember, I've planned for you 4 paragraphs. These are what the paragraphs are going to be about. These are the things that you already know, you've already thought about, you've already prepared. And potentially, you'll be able to do today a paragraph on each one of those different topics. Now, I also said in the kind of success criteria that you have to use this paragraph structure, this particular paragraph structure that I am trying to install, and that paragraph structure is now on the screen below the title. Okay, your actual essay is going to be between 2 and 4 paragraphs long. We've said that, but each paragraph needs the following structure: 1, a clear focus on a topic that's relevant to the question. That means something about Queen Elizabeth's character. 2, a quotation that provides evidence of the point that you want to make. So, a piece of evidence from the extract that shows you what you're saying about her character. So, if you're saying she is a powerful person, then the quotation needs to be one of the bits of evidence that shows power. The third step is that you then explain what the quotation means or why it's relevant. So you explain the quote. The fourth point is where things get a bit more technical. On the fourth one, you zoom in onto the quotation and you pick a single word, okay? And then you use terminology to label that word. So it might be noun, it might be adjective, it might be verb, it might be adverb. It depends on what the word is, but it's probably going to be one of those 4 parts of speech. And if you don't know what part of speech is, if you just go on Google and go on a dictionary website and type in the word you're looking for, it should tell you the types of word that it is. And then once you've zoomed in that word, the final step, and this is where you get the bonus points, is you analyze that single word by basically saying explain the effect that is created by using it. Okay, so there's basically 5 steps to each paragraph. Now, if you're used to doing point, evidence, explain, if that's the structure that you've used, that gets you to number 3. 1 is point, 2 is evidence, and 3 is explain. What I'm trying to push you towards is this kind of zoom and analysis. Okay, so that's the way things are going. So it's PEE with then a zoom and an effect. Right. So here's your first paragraph. Now, what I've done for you, I've set out the next 4 slides to be very similar. I've color coded it. So paragraph 1 is green, and you'll see as we go through that the colors change. Okay. So the first focus, the first paragraph, is going to be on Queen Elizabeth being anxious and scared. Okay, that's what we're looking for. The thing is, as we can see here in the second part of our paragraph, we're looking for something she does. So we're looking for the actions. So where in this extract, and it's on the screen here next to the structure, where in this part of the extract is there something she does well? We've got here at the top, Enter Queen Elizabeth, the Lord Marquess of Dorset, and Lord Rivers and Lord Grey. So you could take a quotation from her, how she enters the stage. Okay, that's one of the things she does. That's how. And the other thing you could look at here for what she does is she asks a question. Okay. Now, if you were going to analyze the question here, you wouldn't zoom in on a word, okay, because you're not thinking about a word. You're thinking about the question. So you'd actually say, if you're going to use that quotation, you say this question. Okay. So rather than this word, you say this sentence is a question because you're going for the whole sentence. So that's how you do number 4 there. Rather than picking on a word, if you're going to talk about the question here, you would say, rather than saying zoom on keyword from the quotation, you say this sentence is a question, and then you analyze how her asking a question shows that she's anxious or scared. Okay. So those are the options for your first paragraph. You could write about the entrance and how she's got a family all around her, or you could write about the question here that she asks and how that shows that she's anxious and scared. That's the first paragraph. Okay. Paragraph 2. Same part of the scene, but we've moved on to a different focus. So now we're looking at something she says. We're still looking at her being anxious and scared though. Okay, so that's not changed. So something she says now that suggests that she's anxious and scared. Well, Rivers and Grey, that we can't look at their quote those speeches because we're looking for something that Queen Elizabeth says that. So that means we're looking at this one. But you might have already used that quotation in the previous paragraph, in which case you can't use it again. So that means you have to go to this one here. Queen Elizabeth, the loss of such a lord includes all harms. Okay? Now, explain how the quote makes us seem anxious or scared. Okay, so if you're going for this one, if you're going for the what would be tied to me one, then the things that make her seem anxious or scared is she's thinking about, you know, if you were dead, she's thinking about the worst case scenario. Okay, that suggests that she's scared of what will happen, and as she says here, the loss of such a lot includes all harms. So here she's saying that, you know, it's absolutely terrible. It'll be the worst thing possible. Okay, which again shows anxiety and fear. So depending on which one of those two quotes you like, you put that quote in at point 2 in your structure. Then you explain how that quote makes her seem anxious or scared, and then you zoom in on one word for each quotation. So you might say, you might zoom on the word betide. Okay, you might zoom on the word dead. You might zoom on the word loss. You might zoom in on the phrase all harms. Okay, depends on which quote you went for. Depends on which particular word or phrase that you felt was the most effective. You then work out what kind of technique or terminology to use there, noun, adjective, verb, etc. And then you analyze how that one word, or in this case, all harms, 2 words, has an effect to show she's anxious or scared. Into paragraph 3 now. So paragraph 3, we are moving away from her being scared and anxious into her being powerful. So that's the focus here. Queen Elizabeth being powerful. Okay, that's what we're looking for. And we're looking for something that others do. Okay, so for the type of evidence we're looking for a quotation of something others do. So let's see, we've got Grey here. Well, here comes Lord of Buckingham and Derby. That's not particularly effective in showing she's powerful. Buckingham to Queen Elizabeth. So this is something Buckingham is doing to her. So this is for her. So we can definitely use that stage direction because that means this is just for her. And he says, "Good time of day unto your royal grace." And I think that would be a good quote to use for something that others do. Okay, how does it show that she makes her seem powerful? Well, he's so polite. He's so respectful. His language, his style of language, his tone is, you know, indicating that she is the powerful person in the room, and he has to kind of bow down to that authority. Which word to zoom in on? I would say the phrase royal grace. I would go for that. I would say that phrase there, royal grace. Okay, or just grace maybe. Um, how does that word or that phrase create the effect that she's powerful? I think you can explain that in your own time. You can think about the impact or the effect of those two words. If you're not sure about using Buckingham's, then you've got Stanley who comes in and he says something quite similar. He says, "God make your Majesty joyful." Okay, so again, it's like, why is he talking to her like that? Why is he using that tone? That kind of a bit sycophantic, a bit kind of like, again, he's like praising her and you're kind of groveling a little bit. What's that suggest about her character, her personality? If Stanley is feeling the need to kind of be that kind of grovelly towards her, okay. And then also with Stanley, when she kind of she's a little bit critical of him or of his wife. He then responds to that criticism with, "I do beseech you," and that's an interesting phrase because he's kind of begging her to kind of not think like that about his wife. His wife's a mean or nasty person. He's begging her not for Queen Elizabeth not to think like that. So when you zoom in on that one, you're probably going to zoom in on the word beseech. So for Stanley, you got the word beseech, and this idea of your Majesty, and you've got a number of options there to zoom in on, and then obviously explain the one you've chosen and the effect it has to make it seem powerful. Final paragraph, paragraph 4, and again we're still looking at Queen Elizabeth being a powerhouse. The most important person in the scene. She's got the status and the power. So that's the topic. Make sure you're well aware of what the focus is. And then what does she say that makes her seem powerful? Well, there's the criticism, and so this is the speech we've got on the screen in front of us, and she's talking about Lord Stanley's wife, who's known as the Countess Richmond. Okay. She says, "I hate not you for her proud arrogance." Okay, that's what she says. And how does that make her seem powerful? Well, she's able to be critical, and there's no consequence to her. So if so, that shows power that you can be fairly negative. You can say something unpleasant or be critical, and that if you can say that, then that obviously means you're confident and you feel that you've got the power or the authority to speak like that and use that tone. What she's saying is, "I hate not you." So she's saying to Lord Stanley, "I don't hate you because she's such an arrogant, proud woman." So she's actually saying, "I hate her for being proud and arrogant." So she's very critical of um, Lord Stanley's wife there. Now, when it comes to zooming in, you might want to use the kind of this negative phrase here, "I hate not you." So it's more than one word; it's a phrase, but it turns her criticism. She's not criticizing him, so he can't. But she is still she's still being critical of him without being critical of him. It's a kind of clever little device. Or you could talk about this word "proud," which is the word she's accusing his wife of being, or arrogance, which is also something she's accusing his wife of being. Two negative words in this context. Whichever one you've gone for, make sure you analyse how it has a powerful effect. How it has an effect, I should say, to make Queen Elizabeth seem powerful. So that year 9 is the end of the lesson, as it were. Now, what I suggest you do is you go back now and look at the paragraphs that you want to write about. You might think, "Oh, I want to do paragraph 1 or paragraph 3," and then obviously go back to the video and re-watch those sections. Okay, and then really get a confident sense of you know what you're doing, before you move on to actually writing your paragraph. Okay, and don't worry if you find this hard. It is tricky. Like I said, this is year 11 type work, but I've tried to coach you towards getting the right answer today. So please listen to what I've said carefully. Make sure you're following the structure that's in those purple boxes on the side of each slide. Make sure you get those 5 key areas. If you don't get all 5, don't worry. Try and get as many as you can. And if you can keep them in that order, it makes it a lot better too. Right. Good luck, folks. And I look forward to seeing what you produce today. Okay, take care, and I'll be marking these as soon as they come in, so you'll get some feedback next week. All right, have a nice weekend. I'll see you soon.